Good morning, everyone. Sorry to hold you up. Making a series of announcements this morning. You're going to hear from a number of folks who are standing with me, but let me also recognize a couple folks who are here as well. Certainly, Everett Gillison, the Chief of Staff and Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Rich Negrin, our Managing Director, Shelley Smith, our City Solicitor, Rob DeBoe, the Finance Director, and many other leaders here in the government. You're going to hear from, as I mentioned, a number of folks behind me. I'll introduce them as they speak. As many of you know, at the beginning of our administration, we brought Keith Richardson here, who was then serving as the director of the Pennsylvania State Department Bureau of Compliance, to be our revenue commissioner. Over the last several years, the Department of Revenue, under Keith's guidance and leadership, increased revenue collections, dramatically increased sheriff sales, launched the Employee Indebtedness Program, and created new, aggressive, multifaceted delinquent tax collection strategies that will help us to transform our delinquent tax collections efforts. I greatly appreciate Keith's work as both a revenue commissioner, but also as a fine public servant and a friend. He has a new opportunity, though, to take on new and different challenges. And in that capacity, he will be serving as the managing director of the Philadelphia Housing Authority's Development Corporation, which is the nonprofit arm of the Philadelphia Housing Authority. His loss will certainly be to our administration, but clearly a gain to the Philadelphia Housing Authority. And it's a great opportunity, for both personally and professionally, for Keith. And I'm always excited for our folks when they get opportunity. I just hate for them to leave. Obviously, there's a conflict there in that idea. But he will be a tremendous asset to PHA, utilizing his extensive knowledge and expertise. I'm going to introduce him in a second, but I also want to thank the many Revenue Department employees and staff who are here today as well. You are great public servants. We love working with you. I admire the work that you've been doing, but most importantly, I really appreciate your help and support of Revenue Commissioner Keith Richardson. Please welcome him.
I would take the time out right now to say first thanks to God for opening the doors and opportunities for me to come to the city of Philadelphia with this administration and into my future endeavors with the PHA Housing Authority Development Corporation. To Mayor Nutter, thank you for having confidence in me. For Mr. DeBoe as well, it's been a pleasure. To the staff in the Department of Revenue, I wish you all the best. You will do well. The plan has been laid out for you to continue to move forward, and I know you will do great things in the 21st century, continuing doing things in collections of the taxes for the city of Philadelphia and doing things right for the citizens. So it's been a blessing to be here working with this administration. I wish you all the best. Godspeed, peace and blessings from me. And I'm always around if you still need me to make a phone call or anything, so thank you.
Let me also recognize from the Department of Revenue, certainly Frank Breslin, Michelle Bethel, Francis Beckley, and Andrea Menino. Can we please recognize them as well? Keith, again, thank you very, very much. And of course, we do wish you the best, and we also know that you are not far away. We know where PHA is. Providing the highest quality of service to our citizens of this great city has, from day one, been a priority of mine going back now 20 years when I first started in city government as an elected official, as a member of Philadelphia City Council. It's also been a priority, of course, from the first day of being mayor of my hometown. But there are some, unfortunately, who don't or won't pay their taxes, owing the city hundreds of millions of dollars in back taxes. Over the last 5 years, and under Keith's leadership, we have worked diligently to improve our delinquent tax revenue collections. As I mentioned earlier, through the Employee Indebtedness Program, we collected $3.8 million from city employees who owed this city money. We collected more than $72 million, nearly $49 million for the general fund, and $23 million for the school district, and $1 million for the hotel fund during the 54-day back taxes amnesty window back in May of 2010. This collection included $23.5 million for delinquent real estate taxes alone. We unified our tax collection efforts by strengthening the partnership between the Law Department's tax unit and the Revenue Department. In November of 2010, the Taxpayer Services Unit of the Revenue Department notified taxpayers by phone who were about to incur a lien on their property due to delinquency for the first time ever in this city. In November of 2011, Revenue expanded their efforts and mailed notices to all first-time delinquent property owners. Again, another first. Also that year, and for the first time, the prior year's delinquent real estate accounts were sent out promptly in April for collection and enforcement. These strategies have been successful. From FY11 to FY12, Revenue increased delinquent tax collections by $33 million. But, as the new delinquent tax collection strategy has pointed out, we can, we must, and we will do more to improve all collection efforts, and we can also do it in a much more efficient manner. Knowing that, and under the direction of Budget Director Rebecca Reinhardt, the City brought on FTI Consulting to assess our overhead costs and detail our collections processes. In February, we released a report by FTI Consulting that detailed ways that the City of Philadelphia could increase collection efforts and reduce costs. It is a smart, solutions-driven framework that we are counting on to help us to capture tens of millions of dollars in savings and collections over our 5-year plan. A key recommendation of that report is the creation of a new position in our city government, the Chief Revenue Collections Officer, whose sole responsibility will be to maximize revenue collections, including taxes, fees, fines, bills, and penalties all across the entire city government. The city relies upon the revenue generated by departments to fund critical services for our citizens, city projects, and the school district of Philadelphia. But for many city departments, revenue collection is a secondary duty, second only to their core responsibilities of delivering city services. Unfortunately, this then results in low collection rates and reduced revenues for our city. Today, I'm very excited to announce that we have appointed Thomas Knudsen as the city's first Chief Revenue Collections Officer. In this role, Tom will report directly to me and Finance Director Rob DeBow. He will oversee all citywide collection efforts and craft more efficient collection methods, including sharing best practices across city departments and synchronizing those collection efforts. As many of you know, in January, Tom completed a year at the Philadelphia School District serving as the Chief Recovery Officer, responsible for the preparation and implementation of their first ever 5-year plan to balance the district's budget. Prior to his time at the school district, Tom was, of course, the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer for the Philadelphia Gas Works from 2000 to 2011. Under his watchful leadership, PGW moved from near bankruptcy to an operationally and financially sound utility. Specifically, PGW improved its billing collection rate from a low of 86% to a high of 98% during his tenure. Tom's decades of finance and management experience and professionalism will help to create a culture of accountability for our revenue collections. Let me reintroduce to all of you Tom Knudsen.
Good morning. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you very much for the honor to take on this responsibility of Chief Revenue Officer. From my days at PGW, I know that high levels of collection from the citizens of this city are possible. And from my experience at the district, I know how critical that effort has to be, particularly for the district in real estate. So there's much to do. I want to thank Keith and we will build on the things that he has put in place and go forward from here. So again, thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Working with Tom and the rest of us across the government on collections for the Revenue Department will be Clarena Tolson. For more than 30 years, Clarena Tolson has dedicated her life to public service. As a Streets Commissioner, she oversees more than 1,800 employees and an operating budget of $168 million. Her guidance led the Streets Department through the completion of its largest and most complex project, the reconstruction of the South Street Bridge, as well as a citywide same-day trash and recycling collection and the innovative Philly Future Track program. Today, I'm pleased to announce that Clarena has heeded the call to public service again and will be the new Revenue Commissioner for the City of Philadelphia. We've known each other for a long time. Her commitment to Philadelphia, her proven track record of good management and collaboration, and her ingenuity will be essential in her new role as a Commissioner of the Department of Revenue as she champions its transformation into a high-performance collections and enforcement agency. And before she comes up, let me also thank Gus Tolson, her husband, for agreeing to this call. And she's also joined here today by Ed Wiggins, who is her brother, and I also understand that Van Cooper, Local 427 President, is here as well. Let us warmly welcome, and Mom, you didn't tell me that. And her mother, Joyce Wiggins, is here as well. It's not like having Mom come out for a big announcement. Clarena's going to come up in a second. Let me just tell you one last thing. My response and reaction to reading things about Clarena is particularly personal. We've actually known each other since we were undergraduates at the University of Pennsylvania. We've worked together for a long, long period of time. She has a tremendous amount of experience. I could not be more proud and more confident in her abilities, and it's the reason why I asked her to take on this new challenge. She was minding her business just a few days ago, doing her job and being enthusiastic about being Streets Commissioner until I called her into my office just a couple days ago. And for that, I will be very, very grateful. The new Revenue Commissioner, Clarena Tolson.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. I'd first like to thank the mayor for giving me an opportunity to serve the citizens of this city in a new and exciting way. Yes, this is my beloved city. I love it. I think very highly of this mayor, this city, and a motto of mine is, for God and country, I will serve. His request of me is one that did catch me by surprise, I will admit. And I think that he had to do just to convince me that he was serious for quite a while. But it is certainly, for me, the opportunity to do what I know to do. And I can only commit to doing my very best to him and for our great city. I must thank the members of the Mayor's Office of Transportation and Utilities for their support and for their work. This has been a whirlwind activity, and they continue to support me in this effort. I must also take the time to say thank you to the wonderful people of the Streets Department, who I worked with for the last 20 years, either as a deputy commissioner or a commissioner. And I can tell you that the great work and the efforts of these people are what makes this city tick. I believe that the Streets Department is the most impactful city agency. The ways that you serve our citizens are true and real and impact every day, every bit of their lives. I think that you should continue in those ways. We have great people in leadership and great people who are serving as workers. and I look forward to our future collaborations. I thank each of you for working with me, being willing to make the department as great as it is, and for all of your time, efforts, through snowstorms, through hurricanes, through day-to-day management of operations. I thank you for standing strong for the citizens of this city who you serve very, very well. I also like to take time to say a thank you and a word of appreciation to my family, who has suffered through many things over the years of my service to the city. I actually have worked with the city longer than I've been married. I've been married now for 27 years. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity. And last but not least, I want to say a warm, warm thank you to the union for the relationship that I share with them. Mr. Van Cooper, Mr. William Jackson, the business agent, who have allowed me to work with them and show that a turnaround is possible. And I think that through the great efforts of the union and with management, we have shown that the citizens deserve the best and that we can deliver the best. I hope to carry that same mindset forward in my future work with the city. And I'm very thankful to the mayor for giving me this opportunity, and I will do my very best for God and country.
Let me also mention that serving with Clarena in her new capacity will be Mike Zaccagni, who will be going over with her to the Revenue Department. I do want to come back for one moment and say again, in a even more serious way, to Gus and Ed, and certainly to Mrs. Wiggins' mom. Thank you very, very much. These positions do, from time to time, take their toll on high-level public servants. It's not a 9-to-5 kind of job, and certainly for what Clarena has done, and she mentioned the snowstorms, hurricanes, and everything in between. She has provided grace under fire, incredible leadership, and I want to echo her comments with regard to Van Cooper, the president, and the union workforce particularly in the Streets Department. It's not just the Postal Service that is rain, snow, sleet, and hail. If you do what the folks over in the Streets Department do on a daily basis, most of us actually could not, I'll start with myself, could not do that work. It's not always 68 degrees in Philadelphia, but every day, whether it's 20 degrees or 98 degrees, those folks are out there doing the job, making things happen, and they do it in an almost effortless fashion that some days, as Philadelphians, I think we don't necessarily notice that it happens. We complain like hell when it doesn't, but with about a 98, 99% accuracy, I'm sure, and I haven't seen any reports, I just know what I know. They make things happen, and a lot of that comes as a result, certainly, of the leadership that Clarena has provided and many others all across the city government. So to the family and to our union leadership, thank you again for your help and your support. I'm going to open up for questions in a second, but one last thing that I need to do. I want to thank all of these public servants who are here with us and to provide the reassurance that there will be seamless transition, of course, over in the Streets Department as well. So I'm pleased this morning to announce that the Deputy Commissioner for Transportation, Dave Perri, will be the acting commissioner in the Streets Department. With 31 years of service to the City of Philadelphia and experience that spans nearly a dozen different city agencies, Dave Perri is more than up to the job. I've worked with Dave over many, many years, again, when I was a member of City Council, and learned a great deal from him. So the Streets Department will be in very good hands. And let me also mention, she could not be here and told me that she couldn't be here, but much of today would not have been possible without the great leadership and support of our Deputy Mayor for Transportation and Utilities, Rhina Cutler. Rhina runs a hell of a shop and gets stuff done. She's a great manager. She identifies great talent and gives her people the leeway to make things happen. So I want to thank her even in her absence. And certainly, Andrew, thank you for your work over there as well. As Deputy Commissioner, presently Dave plans, directs, and manages a diverse field of operations like the design and construction of roads and bridges, traffic control, and highway and bridge maintenance. As Acting Streets Commissioner, Dave's day-to-day duties and know-how and practical experience will be critical as we make this seamless management transition to an extremely important city department. And so with that, Dave Perri.
Good morning. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for giving me this wonderful opportunity. There's no higher calling than public service, and I'm truly blessed and privileged to have the opportunity to serve the citizens of Philadelphia, my fellow employees, as well as this administration. I've been in the streets department for 6 years, and I want to thank Commissioner Tolson for recruiting me to the department. She has been my mentor. Her leadership is unchallenged. I appreciate the opportunity she gave me to be the chief engineer and to make me the deputy commissioner. Again, this is truly an honor and a privilege, and I hope to continue the great work that she has done in the department, and I look forward to working with the unions, my fellow employees, and the citizens to make this even a better city. Thank you.
So, again, thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to public service, the things that you do for citizens each and every day, sometimes seen and in many instances unseen, but certainly still appreciated. Your dedication and diligence makes our city the great place that we want it to be, the place to live, work, and raise our families, and every now and then actually maybe even have a little bit of fun. Your hard work does not go unnoticed. I know. Many of us know. And for that, let me just say thank you very, very much. So with that, I'd be glad to take any questions from the news media. Mike. Tom.
Summarize what you see as the key to your success in increasing the collection rate during your tenure at PGW, and would that apply to the city of Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think there were several elements. First was to get the process of the collections in place and working well. The second was, and that included processes and procedures as well as getting the right kind of personnel and management. It took us some period of time to do that. I think the other element is the idea that you change the culture around the responsibility of paying for civic services. In that instance, it was gas, but I don't think that's different from real estate or any other tax. So it's these combination of getting the process correct and then enforcing and insisting on compliance with the rules and regulations of the contract that you have with customers of the utility, in that instance, or with citizens of the city on a broader scale.
Can you elaborate on your reference to the culture? Is that a reference to the mindset that we can get away without paying?
Yes, exactly. You want people to appreciate the services that they're getting, understand that they have a responsibility to pay, and then go after that payment. At the front end, you do it as appropriately as you can, and you get tougher as the requirements grow.
Well, if I could ask one last follow-up, the hammer that you had at PGW was during warm weather, the ability to shut off service.
Correct.
What is the hammer that you might have now to city taxpayers as a whole for those who you need to apply that?
Well, I think that's what we're going to be looking at is what are the hammers. Clearly, commercial customers who aren't paying their licenses, there are other ways that they need to operate and do business in the city. We'll be looking at how we can use those tools more effectively than maybe in the past.
I can add to that. You know that Council President Clark and I are supporting a package of bills that are up in the General Assembly to also give the city greater tools, expand our enforcement efforts. One bill in particular, sponsored by Chairwoman Sherelle Parker, if you own property in the city and owe us money, presently we don't have the ability, for instance, to go and put a lien on other property that you have in other parts of Pennsylvania. We are restricted to the city of Philadelphia. We think that that can be very helpful. I think the enhanced coordination with the law department, you will start to see, and we've done this in the past, much like we've done on the public safety side, top 50, top 100, top 200 tax delinquent folks in the city and better publicize those efforts. We're going to be going to court more with people. I think we have to send a message that you've received a service, you need to pay, and we're going to be as aggressive as possible. But you've also heard me talk about, it's really kind of, in my view at least, kind of three categories of taxpayers. The overwhelming majority of whom, at least on the real estate side within a year, 91% actually pay. And so there are those who get a bill and they pay it. And for that, we're appreciative, and we need to demonstrate that appreciation to folks who actually do pay their bills. I think there's another group of taxpayers who want to pay, whose economic circumstance may get in the way. That's where you get into payment agreements and pay what you can. There's another group that is just trifling. They won't pay, they don't pay, and we are going to be exceedingly aggressive with that category of non-tax-paying entity, and whether that's an individual or on the business side, those who have the ability to pay, who are just flaunting the system or ignoring it, they're going to feel a very, very different kind of city of Philadelphia going forward. Any other questions? Jan? Richardson? Sure.
They sought me out. I had an interview with them early March, and then I had a meeting with the president and CEO, Kelvin Jeremiah, last week.
Well, I would say that certainly having graduated from the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School is going to be a help. I started my career in the city working for Mayor Green when I had black hair, and I did, actually I did tax policy when I started and policy analysis. So I think that I have a little bit of background that will allow me to have some perspective. But I think my biggest advantage will be that I certainly know how to work with people, and I intend to collaborate with the minds that are in the Revenue Department that know their business. And it's my intent to learn from them, much as I had to do when I came to the Streets Department. When I started in the Streets Department as a Deputy Commissioner for Sanitation, the only thing that I knew about trash was to ask my husband to put it out. And I think that I worked hard to learn the business. And I use what I know to build upon that and do the best that I can for the city.
During your tenure, one proposal that came up that convergence with revenue was the proposal for trash collection fee. Now that you're moving to revenue, is that something you would perhaps move on, particularly given the city's need to find more money in schools?
I think that I bring a broad perspective with regard to all aspects of living in the city, whether it be as a taxpayer or as a city manager in one agency working with a revenue agency. I don't think that I have any preconceived notions of what's best. I had a perspective as streets commissioner. I will have another perspective as revenue commissioner, but that will be after having served as streets commissioner. So I think that I can bring the knowledge that I have to bear with all of it.
Jan, I would only add to the response that all of us do what we do in a variety of different ways, but managing people is the essence of getting stuff done. And if Clarena Tolson was in your line of work, given her tenure, her experience, and the things that she's accomplished, she'd have 5 Pulitzers by now. Troy. Sure. So the Revenue Department is a full-fledged, huge department. It has a ton of people in it, a variety of systems, policies, and procedures. The Revenue Commissioner, Clarena Tolson, is in charge of that department. Within a bunch of departments, and as you look at the FTI report, you will also see that a number of our departments are revenue-generating departments, and others bill for services. And so there are actually individuals in each of those departments that have some level of responsibility for billing or collecting for those services for their department. The reality is we don't do that particularly well. And so it is my belief that better leadership and direction, specifically with those folks who have revenue collection or billing responsibility, overseen by one entity that has the broadest array of responsibility and service all across the city government, reporting into one individual about the issue of billing and collection. That's the mission, that's the focus. We provided a service for which we are supposed to be paid, whatever it was. And there are any number of departments that have any number of things that they bill for. We don't do a particularly good job at the departmental level of collecting those revenues. And through a whole series of communications, miscommunications, and a bunch of other stuff in between, we need to fix those systems. And so I want Tom to primarily focus on those issues. And the commissioner will focus on running a department with hundreds of people who have the day-to-day responsibility for billing and collecting the revenues that they're responsible for. It's revenue's job. Tom has the broader view and the 30,000-foot ability to see what's going on all across the department and is empowered by me to work with every top-level person and every commissioner across a variety of agencies. It will take a tremendous amount of coordination. But the 2 key people here, and they will spend the bulk of their time together and with me and with Robin, with the Chief of Staff, but Tom Knudsen and Clarena Tolson will become very good and long and fast friends over the period of time because they're going to spend a lot of time together. Mike.
City Council's been pushing for a number of how much of these uncollected taxes can be collected. Do you have an idea of what you'd like to give them for that number yet?
I think we provided some of that information in previous testimony. I think I had some of that. I may have had some of that information I know that it's mentioned in the 5-year plan. I may have mentioned it in my budget speech. I think what we need to do is give these folks an opportunity to actually get in their respective shops, come up with plans of action over the next 30, 60 days, and we'll be in a better position. But I think we've actually provided some estimates in the 5-year plan, at least for the next year and for the next few years. And there was also a fairly large number, I think, in the FTI report. So between and among all of those either pronouncements or reports, there are some pretty hard numbers. And we've included, I think, a few of them actually in our future revenue projections. Did I get most of that right? Close? Okay. Yeah. You can get the rest of the details from Rob. Yes.
Since Catherine was no longer here, Mr. Knudsen's salary.
Sure, and I'm sure Catherine would greatly appreciate that from Iowa. I'm going to let her know that you did that. Tom Knudsen's salary is $160,000. Clarena Tolson's salary is $150,000. There's a slight raise for her from her current salary as Streets Commissioner. Dave Perri's salary is $130,000, and I have no idea what Mike Sakagny makes, as I don't know what most people make in the government, but those are the three. Yeah, Rob will figure it out, yeah. Well, I mean, the two of them are already on the payroll, so.
So I'm told that Mr. Knudsen's stewardship at PGW not only allowed for kind of turning around the utility, but doing so without really impacting people who can't necessarily always pay their bills. That reputation and that accomplishment, is that in your mind when you bring him in here, considering some of the fears that are out there in the public over being able to pay the real estate bills, that he can improve collections, but also work with people who may have fears about being able to pay their bills?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Tom is a professional. You know, as I said earlier, and I really do make the distinction about, you know, look, the realities of our situation are the following. We have a fairly significant segment of our population that is struggling, whether from a poverty standpoint, whether from losing their job. We've just come through the worst recession since the Great Depression. I mean, it is tough for some folks. That doesn't mean that you should pay nothing. So in those instances, we want you to pay something. Do what you can. Do your fair share. And, you know, I'm not saying you got to be Simon Legree about it, but, you know, somewhere between that extreme and, you know, not doing a whole lot is a good balance. Tom knows what needs to be done, and certainly many of our PGW customers are the same folks who may be struggling paying their taxes. This is an issue, and I'll go back to, I think Tom used the word, this is about a mindset. This is about culture. It's about everyone doing their fair share, even in economically challenging times. And it's about making decisions in terms of the limited dollars that you have. You know, do I pay this bill or do I pay my tax bill? Do I go, you know, get this item or do I pay my tax bill? And we want to, you know, reinforce a culture of everyone doing their fair share. And I am more than confident, based on history and performance and my own personal knowledge of Tom Knudsen, that you can demonstrate to folks that, you know, you owe a bill, we want you to pay the bill, but do it in a humane fashion. Last question. Great. Thank you all. Thank you again to all the public employees who are here. Thanks a lot.